Little boxes on the hillside, little boxes made of ticky-tack. Little boxes on the hillside, little boxes all the same. There's a green one and a pink one and a blue one and a yellow one. They're all made out of ticky-tacky. They all look just the same. And the people in the houses all went to the university, where they were put in boxes and they came out all the same. And there's doctors and there's lawyers and business executives, and they're all made out of ticky-tacky. They all look just the same. And they all play on the golf course and drink their martinis dry. They all have pretty children. The children go to school, and the children go to summer camp, and then to the university, where they are put in boxes. They come out all the same. And the boys go into business and marry and raise a family in boxes made of ticky-tacky. They all look just the same. There's a green one and a pink one and a blue one and a yellow one. They're all made out of ticky-tacky. They all look just the same. Hello and welcome everybody to Talking Electricity with LCKing. I am Good Times for All, or Zachary Zabala if you prefer. And as the title says, I'm joined by LCKing. Hey Lucas, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you?
Not too bad. How's weather on the outer rim treating you these days?
It's not too bad. It's a nice day today. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, it's cold here. It got down to 19 degrees. That would be negative something or other to you. I'm not sure.
Wow.
Yeah, negative 3 or 4, something like that. Yeah, a bit chilly.
I'd just shrivel up, into a little ball and sit in the corner.
Yeah, I'm used to it getting colder than that every year, so this isn't too bad. I'm used to about 30 degrees Fahrenheit colder every year. About negative 15 was my average coldest time of the year. So this isn't too bad, but yeah, I still don't. It's stay inside weather and talk on videos, right?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, today we're going to be talking about grabbing energy from the air. And this isn't a new concept. This has been around for a very long time. And this is, I think, one of those technologies that they don't want us to even explore and really have tried to hide from us. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. This is the be all and end all, isn't it, really? So if you can grab energy from wherever you are, they don't like that at all.
Yeah, that's freedom, pretty much. Freedom to live without being hooked up to a wire,
Yeah, it's complete freedom, because it's, you can create what you need wherever you are, and you don't have to go to their sources to get it. So it's definitely something that everyone should be looking at, and we need to research as much as possible and see what we can find.
Absolutely. Well, we found some pretty cool stuff to share with them over the week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is going to be cool. But first off, like every week, I'd like to show you all just a little video. It's about 1 minute long, so bear with me. This is former MIT physics professor Walter Lewin. Of 4 decades he taught there at MIT. Just a great teacher, one of my favorite teachers to watch in videos. He does great examples of what he's talking about, little tests and experiments. And this is his first time introducing his class to electricity, his 802 Electricity and Magnetism course. You can find it on YouTube by just typing in 802 Electricity and Magnetism. It should pop up. It's a whole, physics course at MIT for free, pretty much. So go over there, give him a like, say thank you in the comments or something. He's a great teacher, and he's taught me so much, and I've never even made eye contact with him. So here we go. This is Walter Lewin.
Electricity and magnetism is all around us. We have electric lights, electric clocks, we have microphones, calculators, televisions, VCRs, radio, computers. Light itself is an electromagnetic phenomenon, as radio waves are. The colors of the rainbow in the blue sky are there because of electricity, and I will teach you about that in this course. Cars, planes, trains can only run because of electricity. Horses need electricity because muscle contractions require electricity. Your nerve system is driven by electricity. Atoms, molecules, all chemical reactions exist because of electricity. You could not see without electricity. Your heart would not beat without electricity. And you could not even think without electricity, though I realize that even with electricity, some of you may have a problem with that.
So there you have it, folks. If you only know the name, you know nothing. You'll hear a lot of people talking about things, and they'll be saying all these scientific terms and throwing all these big equations out, but they don't comprehend how any of it actually works.
And, that just goes to show that little clip that it's pretty much the underlying principle of, everything.
Yeah.
It's like number, you know what I mean? It's the underlying principles of, relationships. That's what number is. So electricity is similar. It's the underlying principle of how things move.
Yeah, it is energy. In its rarest form almost. I don't know if I should say that. I don't know if that's true, but it's very raw energy. And when it gets so strong, you can actually just see it. You'll see in a couple of these videos we're going to share with you, it can just start dancing all over your body. You just standing outside. It happens. It's never happened to me. It may not have ever happened to any of you. But there's videos of this stuff, and there's tales of this stuff that go back, hundreds of years, these things happening. Mm-hmm. So, but first off, before we get into grabbing energy from the air, we're going to go back to we talked about piezoelectrics. Was that last week with Cammie?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay. Yeah, time's just flying by.
And we showed the stuff from Laser Saber.
Yeah, Laser Saber.
And how he was building those little, basically, crystal batteries.
Yeah, so he did an update. Motor plus LED going for 2+ years. His crystal cells duration testing, crystal power cells. And this should kind of give you an idea of why it's happening.
Crystal cells. This is my long-term test that I've had running. And these two have been going for over 2 years now. 2.5 years basically on this one, and well over 2 years on this one. This one back here I just started, and it's been running for about 100 days or so. But anyway, what I've done is I have these set so that this LED goes through a small Joule ringer circuit. And you can find that information about that at laserhacker.com. That small circuit basically pulses the LED. And I just let this idle along here in kind of a low blinking mode like that. And like I said, it's been going 2.5 years. Now, I can turn this up. So let me just go ahead and turn the intensity up on the LED. And you can see that after 2.5 years, I can still crank this little guy right up like that. And that's just really impressive to me.
Now listen to what he is about to talk about right now, because this is where all of the energy that's being created is happening. If you didn't get to see last week's show, he just put what was it, Lucas? Salt, potassium,
Was it potassium chloride?
chloride, I think,
Yeah.
borax, a few different just common household items pretty much. He had a magnesium core and a copper shell, and he melted it and started to crystallize that powder that he mixed up, and it actually starts forming a crystal, and the pressure that is being exerted, that energy can be grabbed. And this is a little battery.
And it looks like that magnesium's basically the anode of it, and it's disintegrating.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep, cool.
And he'll talk about it right here, about it. It's pushing this up. This was level with this down here when it started. But all of this pressure down here is actually pushing that up out of the battery.
Yeah, it's got a constant force on that, on the crystals. So,
And that's creating that piezoelectric energy that, like when you hit a crystal, there's that spark. When you rub two pieces of quartz together, you can create sparks, and that's from that pressure.
mm-hmm.
So let's see. Well, he's just going to talk about that, what we just talked about. There's one more part in this video I really want to show you, and it just shows how much pressure is involved in what we're talking about here. Listen to what he
this
says
motor's been
here.
running for over 2 years now. Let me just show you one thing that has happened on one of these cells. On this one, the copper pipe actually split open on a seam just from the pressure. So let me just focus in on there. You can see that the seam is just ripping open. So there's some incredible pressures and forces going on inside the crystal.
Now, did you see that part? Did we talk about this yet?
No, we haven't talked about that. But
Is that not amazing?
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure in there.
Yeah, to break a copper pipe like that, that's some good pressure. And like you said, these things have been running for 2 years.
Cells over time. Growing and literally pushing your magnesium cores up and out.
Same here.
So yeah, that's just a quick update. Let me go ahead and turn the LED back down to its normal run mode. And there's definitely some interesting things about these cells. My personal take on these cells after doing this amount of testing is that these cells are going to run a very long time. I don't see them going out anytime soon. You can see this, the diameter of the rod here. There's been some corrosion, but it's still a large chunk of magnesium. So why do they run so long? This is my personal theory.
That audio seems a bit low.
You've got a galvanic action cell, traditional galvanic action cell. But what makes these run for so long is the fact that this crystal material grows. And as it grows, you can see the incredible pressures that it creates. And what I think that does is as the magnesium corrodes, as your sacrificial elements corroding away, I think the crystals keep growing into the pits, the cracks, the crevices of the magnesium rod. So I think it's actually the growth of the crystals that's pressing into the magnesium rod under all this pressure and agitating it and keeping a fresh, bare surface to the magnesium. So normally the magnesium would build up some sort of protective layer against the corrosion. Magnesium exposed to air, you'll see that on the surface of the magnesium. This crystal action just keeps pressing into the magnesium core. So as your magnesium core erodes, you've got this great crystal action just pressing in, making sure that you get good, strong contact against your magnesium rod. That's my personal theory so far. We'll let these keep running. We'll see what happens. When I set this long-term test up,
Yeah, that makes sense. The like I said, the magnesium rod's the anode. So yeah, that makes perfect sense that it's growing into it and keeping a bare surface.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? That's something I think that needs to be looked into a lot more, because all of the things that he was using are so readily available. We have a lot of this stuff. Yeah. And if you had 100 of those or 150 of those or some really big ones, you could make some real power.
Yeah, definitely. For a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for a very long time. Once it gets going, it goes. You know, you might have to clean connectors. This, you know, I'm sure there's certain maintenance that would need to be done, but years of power from, you know, basic condiments that you find in your home.
Yeah, exactly.
Just showing the possibilities. And then we also talked about, well, just the pressure and with piezoelectrics. And I'm not even 100% sure if this is about piezoelectrics right here, but I'm just going to show the concept. I don't even really want to listen to what he's going to have to say, but the idea of putting piezoelectrics into the ground, I think that is a genius idea. Or even in roadways, maybe underneath the roads, just having pressure plates, quartz pressure plates that gather electricity when there's pressure provided to them, and people walking down the streets or driving in their cars would constantly create energy for us.
Yeah, well, we did talk about this last week, but these guys are doing it as a commercial venture, so it is actually viable that way.
Yeah, being applied. Yeah, I mean that's really what it all comes down to. Can people make money doing it? I mean, so it kind of shows that they're getting more out of it than you have to put into it. So it is worthwhile to look into this. They're already applying it in places.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be interesting if you could have a low frequency one that worked on low frequencies. That would be really interesting.
Yeah, I also saw we'll have to bring this up in a later show, but a thing for your phone that actually grabs the excess radio frequencies from your phone and charges your phone with those.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's just amazing. I mean, they know this energy is out there all around, and so much of it is being wasted by the products that we use, almost on purpose.
Oh yeah, yep, definitely. And the other thing is like the way the whole grid is actually set up as well. Like you have to use so much power to run your items. I mean, you could run things on 48 volt or even less, and still get what you want basically. But everything's run on such high powers as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's plenty of waste going on there.
Yeah, we don't need that much power to do these things that we're doing. Absolutely. So much of it is just ran through, grounded out, and sent. Actually, it's recycled right back to us. I forget, at least here in the United States, you only use so much of the power that you actually pay for, and the rest goes back right into the wires and shuffled down to the next house. So even though it's all this electricity is coming into your house, you're not using all of it.
No.
It's traveling around and doing things, but it's going back in the ground and right back out into the system. And yeah, there's so much of it that's just they're harnessing it back, but we're not using it, even though they're making us pay for it. It's a great racket. It really is. I mean,
oh yeah, like I got solar panels in my house, and they, I don't get hardly anything for the power that I'm generating. It's all right, I'll pay for theirs, but if I generate any, well,
yeah, they're not going to pay you any.
Yeah, like I'm making the same stuff.
Isn't that? See, that's why they don't want people talking about this kind of stuff, though. They really don't. And I apologize, folks. We didn't get into solar really on this one, any of this research we were doing, but we will definitely do a show one of these days on solar, for sure.
Yeah, I've had a quick look at solar, and that just seems to be set up like a salt bridge. But yeah, we'll go into it at some stage.
Yeah, definitely. So, all right, is everybody ready to start talking and taking a look at grabbing energy from the air? We wanted to start out with the video that just shows St. Elmo's fire, it's called. It's naturally occurring electrical discharges. It happens at the blades of grass sometimes. They claim that it happens at the tips of cow or bull's horns. And in this video I'm going to show you right here, it's going to show you that it even can happen from the tips of your fingertips. it's crazy. I don't think I would like to be where they are, even though it looks like it would be so cool to be here. And just hearing this lady's voice is, you could tell she's having fun. But when this happens, there is a chance that you are about to be struck by lightning. So standing there having fun with it, I don't know if I would do it like they're doing here. This is one of those I would say don't try this at home, you know?
Yeah, if your odds are going up that you're going to be struck by lightning, sort of.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a fun day. Yeah, it wouldn't be a fun day. Definitely. So here, but listen to this lady's voice. I love this. This is St. Elmo's fire on Lake Monona.
What is it?
It's static electricity.
Oh my gosh! From what?
The air.
Well, why is it on your finger?
Put your hands up. You might not have
Oh my
Oh
god!
my god! Oh my god! That's so amazing!
Why is it? Oh my god! That's so crazy!
I have never seen that before.
Where? Why does this happen?
Do you think it's measurable?
Oh
Let's see if I can get a shot of yours.
So has anybody ever seen anything like that themselves?
I haven't.
Nor I. I don't think I would be so. I mean, it'd be cool, but I would not be excited like they are. And I definitely wouldn't be sticking my hand up in the sky anymore. That's just me, though. I appreciate electricity, and I fear it quite a bit. And respect it, I guess. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, it's cool, but it just shows that, you know, the static electricity is around us in nature all around. And there's real world examples of this. You can find all kinds of stuff. Sailors used to say that all the time it would gather on the masts of their ships because they're the tallest thing out there on the ocean, you know? So yeah, it's been around for a long time. We've known about electricity in the air. I don't know if they called it electricity way back when. Probably not. They probably had other names for it. I know they said sailors thought it was like ghosts or apparitions or some kind of heavenly sign.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of tales about it. They talk about the so-and-so lights of this area and the so-and-so lights of this area. Have you ever heard of stuff like that? I think there's one in Indiana called the Bakerville lights.
Yeah, I've heard of like dog lights, they're called.
Mm-hmm.
And that yeah. So that might be the same sort of thing. But that's actually not too far where usually there's reports of it, not too far from where I live. And it's like the Grampians Mountains. So, yeah, I've heard about these dog lights and those sort of things.
Yeah, and Chris Van Matre sent me a message earlier today about he thinks that the water running through the ground really has a lot to do with the grounds being charged and, you know, where thunderstorms roll. Like a lot of the times I know tornadoes up in Indiana because I lived between a couple rivers and it was considered like a safe haven right there. The two rivers like pointed right at the tip of my county and then broke the county in half almost. And I lived right in between them.
Oh, so they buffered you from those storms.
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
they kind of would stop storms from getting so big in that area right there. Something to do with the water flowing right there.
Well, I have talked about the underground aquifers, and they're huge. They're not just, I think there's 1,000 times more water underground than there is above ground. So if I'm remembering right, and a lot of the potassium, the nitrates, potassium nitrates are in those as well. So, yeah, there's definitely, when you got those salts, you've got an electrolyte, and as soon as you've got electrolyte, you've got an ability to move charges through it. So, yeah, I definitely think that the underground aquifers and waters play a significant role in the world system for sure.
And that's something I think that needs to be more studied by common people, mapped out. I mean, even now, what we're told about the electric field, the only reason I tend to think they're telling us the truth is because we can measure this stuff ourselves, and they knew this, and electricity has certain laws. The way they have us set up, which kind of doesn't make sense on, their globe model, which is why they had to create an ionosphere around our ball, is because it's like we're in between two dielectric plates.
Yeah.
It's a nice uniform field that jumps at the same rate and keeps going all the way up until it hits whatever it hits. But there's not an excess amount of power at one end and a shorter, there's that 100 volts per meter jump, and it's a nice steady gradient that it goes up. Now, if we were on just a sphere, the charge would get much stronger, much faster. It would happen at the 1 over r squared, the inverse square law. So instead of being 100, 200, 300, 400, it would be 100, 200, 400, 800, 1600, 32, it would jump exponentially. And they knew that we could test that. So they wanted to say we were on a ball, but they had to put an ionosphere up there because the way electricity works and the way we measure it here, we're in between two capacitor plates.
Yeah, it would lead too much discrepancy that, a real scientist would, figure it out and go, well, what's wrong with this model if there's, they're not explaining what's happening,
Well, yeah, and the greatest part about electricity is size doesn't matter, How it happens on a 1 inch, round sphere will happen the exact same way on a, 36-inch round sphere. The energy will act the exact same way.
Yeah.
It's size, it's independent of size, the way energy acts. It acts upon shapes and, the other say this is the positive. The shape of the negative has just as much, they both have importance on the way the field's going to be shaped.
Well, that's a part of nature. It's fractal, so it can be replicated. Doesn't matter about size that way.
Mm-hmm.
And the same with certain principles as well. I mean, they apply to everything. It doesn't matter if it's big or small, and that's where a lot of the globe model falls down as well, because it can only be applied on such a big scale, and then it doesn't work on smaller scales, and there's lies the inherent problem, because that's not how nature works. It's fractal in nature, and it should be applied big or small and see the same principles.
Absolutely. Alrighty, well, we're going to get into our first video showing a gentleman. This is that laser saber guy. He took I think this was a Nikola Tesla idea. Yeah, Tesla Radiant Energy on YouTube. His name is Laser Saber. All the links to every video I'm going to be showing are in the description already, so you can guys go check those out at your leisure. We're just going to kind of be jumping through them. Let's see what he says here at the beginning.
And I came across this motor in the book Homemade Lightning, and it showed a motor design from 1924, Popular Electrics. And it looked so simple, and I thought, could it really be that simple, folks? So I decided to do a test, and what I've got here is I've got this side will come over here to this 28 gauge copper wire. I'm going to run that up in the air in the hexacopter, and this side over here is grounded. And I'll provide links at laserhacker.com and in the description of this video so you can learn about this. Go to Wikipedia and read up on atmospheric electricity. There's more to it than first meets the eye. It's not just from the wind creating a static effect on the wire. This is really quite the effect. And there's been some patents in the past from Germans and others claiming, up to 1,000 watts of useful power And I really want to get into researching some of this. Now, there's obvious dangers involved in this kind of thing. Anytime you run up a copper wire into the sky.
Yes. Do not try this at home, folks, unless you have some clue of what you're doing. Like you said, it is very dangerous, and I would really be down if I heard one of you went and electrocuted yourself because you saw this on one of my videos. So please don't do that, okay?
You've got a Benjamin Franklin type situation going on. So there's obvious dangers, and all the precautions and proper training should be utilized in doing this job, folks. And coming down here to the atmospheric electricity motor, you can see that it's rotating. All right, so that's the motor, just as printed in Popular Electrics from 1924. And it said this contrivance would amuse the young electrician. And I'm telling you, it's doing its job, folks. I am more.
He's amused.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
What's that, like 2 foot off the ground?
I think he took it up. No, he took it up to 100 feet on the drone.
Yeah, but it's spinning when he's just holding it, basically.
Yeah, he's got it blocked from the wind with the little can and everything, and yeah, one's going to the ground, the other one's going on the wire up to the drone. And now I know he's not pulling a lot of electricity out of the air. You know, that's a very small amount of electricity, but he's using a little wire. Not a whole. Yeah, like we've said before, the more surface area you have up there for the electricity to gather, the more potential you're going to get. The more of the charge you're going to be gathering from the air. So that was just a very rudimentary showing of them being able to do this. One of the types of motors. There's also, I want to build one of these. It doesn't look too hard to build. This is, what is this motor called? I think this is it. Yeah, and this gentleman's name is Rimstar Org here on YouTube. Very, very cool stuff. How powering with atmospheric electricity works. And this is just another basic concept. This motor isn't going to do a whole lot. The amount of power he's grabbing, he's not going very high with it. But if you would like to try to build one of these motors, he kind of tells you how, and there's links in his descriptions and stuff. And I think I'm going to definitely try and do one of these. This is pretty cool. Check this out.
Demonstrated generating power using atmospheric electricity. A hexacopter was used to lift one end of a wire high up into the air. Meanwhile, the other end of the wire was connected to a corona motor near the ground. Electricity then flowed through the wire and corona motor, making it turn. In this video, I'm going to explain how it works. Much of the following explanation is adapted from Nobel Prize-winning physicist Richard Feynman's lecture on physics, a section called Electricity in the Atmosphere. For every meter you go up.
Okay, and then he goes into the, all the basics. 100 volts per meter and how electricity is working in the atmosphere. It's a really good video to go watch. He explains how, 1 point does one thing, but more points gathers more electricity. And he's just kind of explaining what's happening. And then he goes and shows you what the actual motor is doing in there. But the reason I wanted to show you this real quick was because there's people out here doing this stuff. This isn't something that, is one of those perpetual motion type of things where the guy's really got it hooked to a battery underneath. There's lots of people who have done this stuff and are doing this stuff. And I mean, a lot of this stuff is real easy to do. You could even go do it too. I'm going to definitely give it a try. Have you ever seen one of these motors? A coronal motor?
No, I haven't seen one of those motors. No, I have seen that video though. So,
but yeah, it's a good explanation of the.
And it's only one pole too, so you're not running anything in series and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get into that in a bit, but yeah, you're sort of not linking anything up. I've seen other guys where they've had multiple poles and sort of different configurations that were doing the same thing. Yeah.
And then now this one, guys, this is some people that are about it. Now, if you go look into them, you're going to find out that they're working for NASA, building stuff together, electricity on Mars. Now, we got to take in mind, 6 years ago, I would have loved to have known how to do something like this and had NASA come in and say, hey, build me one of these for Mars, and here's the schematics of their atmosphere and this and that. And I would have been like, yeah, heck yeah, I'll try and build that for you. And, you know, before Flat Earth, you know, this could have been me or a lot of us. I would have worked for NASA. I was a NASA fanboy. So I don't really put a whole lot of, I don't know. It does say aerospace, electricity from atmosphere, but the stuff they're showing, it shows that this is definitely capable and possible. This was from 2014 down in Florida. Tour of Ion Power Group's proof of concept R&D test site number 1. So here you got to hear the electricity that this is putting off and see how small this pole is that they're getting all this electricity from.
Collectors and going into the research shack, goes through that PVC pipe and into the building here. Then the drop line feeds through my flip-flop limiter circuit, which feeds and charges up these 10 big capacitors.
Now those are all capacitors.
That's what I was talking about just before, actually. I was like, yeah, I've seen a video, and this is the one. Yeah, so this is interesting.
Those are some, serious capacitors here.
Yeah, they're massive, eh?
Yeah, 10 of them. And this is what we were talking about, putting them in, you know, these are each like having a charged battery right here. Oop, crap. There we go. Sorry about that. But yeah, each of these is like having a battery in line. You know, the power that is coming out of this. Well, he'll tell you right here. It's amazing with the size of the pole that they have. Look at that.
Being provided by the capacitors, which were charged up by ions from the air. They're being fed through a 2 meg resistor. We go over here and take a look at the
here we go. This is what I was.
Voltage on our meter. This is 1,000 times probe. We're at about 12 kilovolts.
12 kilovolts.
A little over 12 kilovolts right now.
That's huge.
Yeah, did you see it? 12,000 DC volts.
Yeah, that's massive.
That's some serious power. And when you guys see the size of the pole, what would you think? How tall? I mean, you've seen the video, but before you saw how tall this pole was, I was thinking it was going to have to be something enormous, like one of those, 800-foot towers, 500-foot towers, something just huge.
It was a while ago since I've seen this, but I don't think they were that big, were they?
No, watch this. This is insane. He's going to show you right here. Here, I'm going to mute it just for a second. That's that power right there, folks, running, making that noise. Day and night during bad weather is clean, renewable source of earth-friendly electricity. Okay, then he talks about we're going to go outside.
Coming out of the building and then up to the blue yonder to our tower.
Now that doesn't look that big. Ion Power Group.
But they've got.
I think they have two, and then they have the wires connected between them.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's it increases at multiples.
Yeah, and there are so many patents throughout, the days. Not so many lately, I guess. I don't know. I didn't see a whole lot of the new ones anytime recently, but there were a lot of patents, especially in 1901. Yeah, exactly.
Collecting them. Yeah.
They're sitting there gathering dust on a shelf somewhere,
Yeah.
but if you go looking for them, you will find lots of these patents. This guy is,
and the guy who made it up, had a long walk on a short bridge, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. They get rid of those people. Now this guy, you guys, Herman Plosson. This was the gentleman that Lucas found from a video we'll show you here in a second. But it's all about power from the air, conversion of atmospheric electricity, and the cool one is the improvements in electric motors. This is really a neat read, though. Some of these pictures are just amazing of how he wanted to set things up. There's your Tesla, and he has, what is that, reinforced concrete, glass, bitumen, whatever that is, and then
Bitumen,
concrete,
yeah.
bitumen, yeah.
Yeah, that's the stuff that roads are made out of. It's like that rubber.
So a great insulator then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of research and experimentation and just playing around with figuring out how to get as much electricity as you could out of the air. And up here,
I should mention that the name of the guy, Herman, is it? Yeah, it's a little bit of an encode for like Hermes.
Yep.
So, I don't think that's his real name, but it's just sort of let you know that.
Look at that. Iron cable. I don't know what that says. 2,200 feet long, 260 feet point. Adjustable spark gap, insulators. I mean, I think, before the powers that be really put a snafu on this, there was all kinds of people thinking of ways of harnessing all this electricity. It shows pictures of some of the stuff that was built. This guy actually built these in Germany. Discharges with potentials as high as 3 million volts.
Yeah.
From the atmosphere, folks.
It's massive, yeah.
Yeah, that's just crazy. Harnessing nature's.
Like 3 lightnings, isn't it? If a lightning strikes about 1 million volts,
Yeah.
3 times that. That's
And lightning is striking, I think, something like 180 times a second. Maybe it might be 80 times a second, but I think it's 180 times a second. Are you seeing this next patent? The improvement. Okay, yeah, improvement in electric motors. British patent number 157,262, 1922. Where does it? I'm not sure where it says it in here, but I know he talks about adding a flame. He found out that by adding a flame, not to the apparatus, but near the apparatus, that he can grab a lot more electricity.
I was trying to work out ways to sort of protect the flame from rain and things like that as well, wasn't he? So, yep.
Yeah, it seems like it would be a pain in the butt to keep a flame going up there without, actually touching anything. It couldn't be touching any metal that's touching that thing.
Oh, well, you could insulate it easy enough, but just
keeping it going. Yeah,
protecting it from the elements and that sort of thing.
So it's got a few different patents by this guy. Just a genius. And he built these all in 1920s Germany. And then the wars came, World War II came and just decimated Germany. I wonder if, I don't know what the wars were about, but I think a lot of it is to hide things from us. It's not about taking over lands or, I'm in charge of this, you're in charge of that. They're all in it together, and it's all about telling us a story, his story.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that's a really good read, folks. Definitely go into there if you're interested in the subject. That guy was doing some serious like testing, figuring things out. And this guy,
Description.
yeah, it's already there in the description.
Sweet.
And where is this one? Somebody did. The guy we just saw, Laser Saber. This is where we found this guy's paper. He did the test to see if the fire actually did help grab more electricity out of the air. And here's what he came up
I've been
with.
doing as much research in the collecting of atmospheric electricity and trying different collectors. So far, I've just been trying needle points. But Herman Plossin talks about using flames of various kinds and lamps, as well as radium. Oleg Jefimenko also used radium on a 20-foot pole to run a small atmospheric motor, just on a 20-foot pole. I don't have access to radium, but I've decided to do some research with flame.
Now notice, folks, when he touched it down here, when he's touching that to there, the motor is not moving. There isn't enough power, even when he's touching it, to turn this motor.
Small atmospheric motor, just on a 20-foot pole.
It moved a little bit right there,
I've
just a
decided to
hair.
do some research with flame and see if that makes any difference over just a needle point. So I've got my Van de Graaff running at a set speed and it's positioned at a set distance. And I'm reaching over with the needle, being careful to hold the insulated cover, not the needle itself. But as you can see, it's just not a good enough collector to spin up this mini Atmo motor.
It's trying.
So leaving everything
it's
in the
just
same
not
position,
getting it.
same speeds, I'm going to do a test with a propane torch. In this setup, I have the red wire connected to the metal portion on the tip of the propane torch. The first time I tried this and saw the mini Atmo motor spin up so quickly at the same distance as the needle test, I was just amazed. It's one of those moments where history comes alive. You've been reading an old patent from the 1920s. The guy talks about using flame to better capture atmospheric electricity. And here the test totally confirms it. It's like I have another missing piece of the puzzle.
Isn't that awesome? Now, did he say that the flame was actually touching? No. Oh, yeah.
It's sort of... It's just near it, isn't it?
Yeah, let me see back there real quick. Oh. I don't really see where the probe is. Is that running along the probe right there? Because I tried this myself. I saw that and I was like, wow, that's really cool. But I can actually test this. And before I go showing everybody this stuff, why not just test it and see if it actually does what they say it does, And yeah, I can tell you it absolutely does. Fire changes electricity. But when I touched, you'll see it here. I'll just let you know now, though. But when I touched the flame to my metal part, my collector, it stopped the electricity from gathering at all.
Yeah. So he mustn't be touching that.
Yeah.
Must be just next to it.
Which makes sense. Yeah, that's where mine was. So without any further ado, this will be the, I guess, what do they call them? Premiere?
Yep.
Of this video of mine. I hope you all enjoy it. Here we go.
Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land. This is Good Times for All, or Zachary Zabala here if you prefer. In today's video, we will be asking the question, why does fire change electricity? Our setup will be the Van de Graaff generator. with a discharge wand set about 5 inches apart, a metal rod connecting the discharge wand to an electroscope. The electroscope is a rudimentary tool for measuring electric charges. We also have a camera set up on the electroscope where you can see the gold foil leaf better. I would like to give a big shout out to LCKing here on YouTube for pointing me in this direction. We have been doing chats on the weekends every Saturday on my channel and are looking into grabbing electricity out of the atmosphere. And this had popped up in some of the research he was doing. And it absolutely does happen the way the research says. It's amazing.
Check, check.
There's a little check to line up the 2 cameras. As you can see, when I start turning the Van de Graaff generator, the gold foil leaf starts pushing away and going off in an arc. Now, when I apply a flame there, you can see that it over doubles in size that time. The amount of electricity that the electroscope is gathering. Again, I apply a flame, and I'm somehow gathering more electricity to the electroscope. Now, where I place the flame is also very important, I'm finding. But everywhere I do put a flame, anywhere near the setup, it does alter it a little bit. The interesting part, when I touch the flame to the rod, no electricity is transferred anymore. As soon as I stop, the electricity starts picking up. I believe because my hand is closer to the Van de Graaff than the discharge wand here, that it's not picking up as much of a charge. But you can see when I do apply a flame, even over here, it still does go up a little bit. So no matter where I apply the flame, it is still interacting with the electricity in the atmosphere. Again, as soon as I touch it to the rod, I get nothing. So I'm not really sure what to make of this, folks. I have a lot of research to do. And this is one of those things that just kind of baffles my mind. Again, flame to the rod, no electricity. Flame near the rod, more electricity. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. I really am perplexed and amazed and full of wonder at this new thing I've learned, and I really just wanted to share that with you. When I do just a flame near it, nothing happens. No electricity being picked up at all. It doesn't jump around at all. So I don't know, folks. Your guess is as good as mine. This is Good Times for All here signing out. As always, thanks for watching.
Alrighty.
There it is.
Yeah, I have no clue what's going on.
Me neither.
Yeah, it's a step in the right direction, you know?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And you showed that what that guy was doing was legitimate, and as well as those the older,
Yeah, from the 20s.
papers.
Yeah.
So there's definitely something to it, and it's you've just shown it.
We got a question in chat. Does it change with the size of the flame? I don't know. That's something, Dom, I'm definitely going to have to try to play with here. yeah, I'm going to be burning some stuff as soon as it warms up a little bit. I want to be burning a lot of branches and whatnot. I think I'm going to take the Van de Graaff out there and do some playing. That's a one nice part about having a hand crank Van de Graaff. I can take it anywhere, you know.
And maybe the type of flame as well, or the from
Here's
candles to propane to all that sort of stuff. Different
here's
ones.
a question from Doc Michael. What other elements would cause a notable reaction?
Don't know.
I don't know. That's a good question. Yes, Bob, I know. I do like to set things on fire. Another good question by David Gordon in chat. How we doing, David? Do wind currents carry more higher charged ions around? Well, that is an interesting question, David. And I just happened to put out a video yesterday on that. Do you mind if we watch that one real quick, Lucas?
Go for it.
This needs to be said. There's been people trying to say that static electricity doesn't affect gases. And I don't know if they were just upset or something like that, or mad, but I know they were saying magnetism doesn't affect gases, and I don't know how true that is, but I couldn't prove that, you know. How do I show a magnetic field moving gas? But this is old. This is something that I did a video on this over 2.5 years ago, showing that gas molecules are moved around by electric forces. Just being inside an electric field itself will move matter around. Now, yes, it will eventually settle if the electric field is nice and, you know, uniform, static. It will settle into its place until it is acted upon again, until there is either a positive or a negative, you know, something to move it around and make it not neutral anymore.
And our world is always being sort of affected by the sun and the moon.
Yeah, I don't know if there is a
moving
place.
around.
Yeah, that
they're just
nothing is not
constantly,
moving.
Yeah, keeping it in this disequilibrium, sort of.
So yeah, I just made this video. It's definitely not my best quality. I didn't put a whole lot of time into it because I really just wanted to get the message out that, hey, we need to stop saying this as a group, that static electricity does not affect gas. Because, you know, when you start saying things that are just blatantly wrong, people look at flat earthers as being ignorant then. So let's just do some research before we go out and start saying things like this. It's not too hard to find. So here you go. Here's the video. I hope you guys enjoy it.
Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land. This is a good time for all. There's Zachary Zabala here if you prefer. In today's video, we're going to answer the question, does static electricity affect gas? Now the answer 100% most certainly is yes. We will go to ionic wind is what it is called. Ionic wind in nature. Wind charged molecules in the air are subjected to an electric field. Now everywhere on Earth there is an electric field. Please, if you think you know a place, I would love to hear about it where an electric field has not been measured on Earth. So, wind charged molecules in the air are subjected to an electric field. They are accelerated. And when these charged molecules collide with neutral ones, they transfer part of their momentum, leading to air movement, known as ionic wind. We've known about this for quite a while, known about for centuries. MIT, fly first ever plane with no moving parts. This one's pretty interesting right here. This is the Popular Mechanics. If you type in ionic wind, Popular Mechanics, this one should pop up. It just talks about how long we've known about it, how it works. MIT was able to create a focused wind that reaches 200 miles per hour. It charges the atmosphere, and when you have the negative back here, it forces all the charged air particles to flow towards the negative real fast to try to neutralize. These are the basic laws of electricity, folks. 1672, corona discharge. 1750, the electric fly. That's pretty neat. He had an S-shaped wire, kind of like a pinwheel. It would cause it to spin, having it facing in two different directions. Visualization. Of the air flame from an electric spark in a vertical jet. I don't know. This is pretty neat. How I control gravitation, 1929. But yeah, a really neat read. This guy supposedly 1964, the ionocraft. Not sure whatever happened to that. The 2000s came around with the ionic breeze, and it still sells a successor of the ionic breeze. I guess their first one they got sued over or something. They were trying to put these into laptops around 2012 to create airflow to cool things. This one was my favorite, 2017, a better way to dry ginger. Scientists from Diponegoro University in Indonesia present findings in which they use ionic wind to dry slices of wild ginger, an Indonesian plant used in herbal medicine, which must be dried for storage. Drying via ionic wind is more energy efficient than using ovens and more hygienic and predictable than drying in open air, not least because the electric discharge kills microbes in addition to creating airflow. The electric discharge kills microbes in addition to creating airflow. Every time lightning is striking, there's airflow. Every time a strong electric front moves in and creates a thunderstorm, there is wind created from that. Just the fact that there is a positive above us and a negative below us, there is a slight movement. Anything denser, like if you take a dense object, say these are your two plates right here, you take a dense object and put it up there, there's enough electricity up here. Yeah, all these things aren't moving so much because they're small particles, they're gas particles, but you put a solid object in here, it can hold more electric potential and therefore accelerate towards the negative. It's very simple, folks. It works on gas, it works on liquids, it works on solids. Ionic wind. And think of it's just being in an electric field. Think of the positive above us as a water faucet and the negative below us as a strainer, the ground. And the electricity is just flowing over us, constantly keeping a nice steady flow. It's a very slow flow, but it is there. So yes, static electricity absolutely, without a doubt, affects gas molecules as well. This is Good Times for All here signing out. As always, thanks for watching.
Alrighty, folks.
Great. That was really good.
Yeah, it was one of those that I kind of rushed and didn't. I mean, I could have found all kinds of cool videos showing you neater ways, even me, I was going to set up my Van de Graaff and have it move smoke particles. And I just kept thinking as to do air, you really can't put matter so much in there to show the air moving because the matter would move regardless. I mean, I could have blown it on my hand. Now I did this with Cammie, with Jaron, with Bob, with Karen B, with Ted. They've all felt this ionic wind that's created by my Van de Graaff. And
it's very real.
hey, Bob, how we doing?
Hi, Bob.
Pretty good. Hey, Lucas, how you doing, man? And
Yeah,
Zach.
good.
Yes, it is. It's absolutely very real. And, you know, to me, anybody that would ever deny in the first place that electrostatic energy affects gases is beyond stupid. Honestly, I mean, that's a crazy claim, because not only does it affects all gases. I mean, it's not just limited to air, or, you know, it'll affect hydrogen, it'll affect helium. It literally has a very profound interaction. And, you know, the first time this claim was made, it was the night of Austin's debate with that guy, whatever his name was, Brian, I guess, who was claiming then that static electricity and gases had no interaction, they had no effect on each other. And of course, I put up instantly Dan Dimension's video, which were, you know, showing the plasma gases that were actually being fluoresced. And he goes, well, no, plasma doesn't count. It's like, oh, okay, great, plasma doesn't count. So, you know, I'm just curious as to what they're going to say with this, because if you can blow around nitrogen and oxygen and carbon dioxide and all those gases and stuff, which you clearly can, and you have shown, and the ionic wind clearly does that, well, I'd say that assertion is pretty much debunked.
Well, how can you say that, you know, the plasma gas, when plasma is just, you know, your air particles increased in energetics? So that doesn't make sense either.
Nope, not at all.
No, but, you know, I mean, clearly, I have a lot of problems with those guys, you know, and I'm not going to, you know, go off on that. But I mean, honestly, these people have got to stop talking about stuff they have no idea about what they're talking about. And, you know, the other thing that, you know, they're talking about is, let's see, how does Nathan phrase it? Gas doesn't go down, boom, boom, or some retarded verbiage like that. And the fact is that this downward acceleration that we keep talking about absolutely does. Now, is it true that if you take a gas and you put it next to a chamber that is evacuated, right? You've created a vacuum chamber in it, and you have a little window in between them, and you open them. Is it true then that the gas will go in and fill the available space and go bouncing around all over the place? The answer to that is absolutely yes. There is no doubt about that will happen. It does happen. Nobody is disputing that. However, what what is being ignored here is that after a while, what will happen is the gas collisions will eventually begin to slow, right? They will, you know, those collisions will become less violent as that energy is kind of depleted out of that initial energy transfer. And the gas will begin to settle and start taking on a density gradient, bottom first. So in other words, what I'm saying is that the gas will settle on the bottom, and it will provide its own gradient, much like if you were to take water, right? If you took water and you put it into just regular old water, distilled water, doesn't matter what kind of water, as long as you have no impurities in it, so let's just call it distilled water, and you pour it into a container, and you take a pressure measurement at the bottom of that container, and then you go up 6 feet, like it's, well, no, whatever, 6 inches, whatever, or 6 feet if you want to do it in a swimming pool. There's going to be a profound difference in pressure between the bottom of the pool and the top of the pool. Well, why is that? It's all the same gas. Well, the reason is because there's a pressure gradient, and the reason there's a pressure gradient is because there is always a continuous downward bias applied to it. And just like that, and we also have this demonstration here. Are you showing the balloon video? Okay.
Yeah.
So
the first
here we
one
have
just fell.
Right. So here we have two balloons that are filled with helium. You put them inside of a vacuum chamber, and of course they fall. Now, what is Nathan Oakley going to say about that? Well, if they weren't inside the balloon, that would never happen. It's like, au contraire, Nathan, it most certainly would happen. And, it's funny because I actually heard Rumpus, arguing this, and as much as I hate to agree with Rumpus was right. Okay, what will happen is if that gas gets let out of that, it will start accumulating at the bottom and form a density gradient going bottom up. And guys, use your common sense. Think about this for a second. If the air is evacuated and there's nothing but gas in there, what is the helium going to be buoyant on, right? What is it going to sit on top of it? What is going to be providing a buoyant force? Nothing. So then you have to ask yourself the question, why does it sit on the bottom? Why does it go down? Why is that vector always 180 directly towards the earth? That's the question, right? It's common sense. It's obvious. Gas does go boom, boom, down, whatever the hell he says. And it's absurd to claim otherwise. And somebody, and you know what, those guys are clowns. I'm sorry. They're just idiots.
Yeah, that's why I don't really go on there or anything. When they say something stupid, I'll just make a video showing when they're, it's not worth my time to go on there and have someone tell me to suck my balls or how do my balls taste.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a real good look for flat earthers too, right? To do that, and go completely insane all the time. And look, if you guys like that Jerry Springer type of mentality, go for it. Be my guest. But, they keep, like Sleeping Warrior keeps coming out with these challenges, trying to explain to me about how there is no downward vector. Well, I'm sorry, Sleeping Warrior, there is a downward vector. It can be proven every way but Sunday. And you simply ignore all of it. I see why the ballers have a problem with these guys, because there is a downward vector. And look, the difference between me and him is like, I'm willing to say, okay, great, let's just agree to disagree. Well, they can't do that. They have to be right at all costs. They have to go on Jern's show and try and prove everybody right, and it's a bunch of bullshit, frankly. But, so my response to them is that I'm going to ignore them and, not even address their stupid claims, because they're not worth addressing. They're just dumb. We make our case. We explain exactly why, just like what I did here today. And people, if you cannot understand it, if you can't visualize what's going on with the gas, the helium that is under there is actually, once it stops bouncing around and all those collisions, in accordance with the conservation of momentum, right? It's going to stop bouncing around and it's going to start settling on the bottom. Why does it settle on the bottom? Because there is a downward acceleration that is ever present, always will be, always has been there. And, whether or not you want to call that gravity or what is causing it, well, that's a whole nother matter altogether. But the point is it's there. And, we've already debunked two of the things I think that Oakley claims so far. And, anybody with any common sense should be able to understand this. And so that's all I'm going to say about it. But, other than that, great job, Zach, on the video.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Like I said, it was kind of rushed. I was listening to Discord and I keep hearing people saying, well, electrostatics doesn't affect gases. I heard it like 3 times yesterday or the day before. And I was like, all right, I got to put a stop to this. I just don't want us sounding ignorant when we speak, when we have new people, because there's still a lot of new people coming into this. And I don't want them hearing us saying these things that are just blatantly wrong. Now, in everybody's defense, when you type in, does static electricity affect gases, you don't find this stuff. Like everything else, it's hidden. You have to do a little bit of research. You have to look into things a little bit more. But ionic wind is well known about and not,
and it is not plasma either.
No.
Ionic wind is not plasma. This is done purely by charge potential, static electricity charge potential. It is not plasmatizing the gas at all. So boom. Sorry, Brian. Sorry, Nathan. You're wrong. Get over it.
Yeah, exactly. Not plasma.
Well, all righty. Anybody else? If you wanted to jump in, you had your chance. I think we're going to wrap it up. We've said pretty much all we wanted to say for this week. Lucas, you got anything coming up, man?
Not really. I've just been working on some music, and that's about it. But,
nice. Yeah, I've heard some of your new stuff. You're at least the one, and then you're working on a little jingle for some of the stuff I wrote, which would be cool. Yeah. So yeah, we got some stuff in the works for you guys. How about you, Bob? Any luck of us getting a Glowbuster show tomorrow, maybe?
Well, I don't know. I don't know about tomorrow. I'm still kind of on the fence about that, but I'm kind of enjoying the time off. But one thing, like I said, I'm not going to do is I'm not going to address these particular or those particular people on Globebusters anymore because they want to take every opportunity to try and challenge me to a debate. Well, I don't debate idiots. I will simply make my points, and there we have it. And honestly, I don't know if you guys heard the Nathan Oakley Witsit so-called debate, but that was the most embarrassing thing I have ever heard in my life. How anybody could act like that and still want to even be associated with anybody like that. So, and again, that's why I won't address it on Globebusters, and I'm sorry to say, well, I'll do it on Zach's, platform, but, I'm just not going to give this argument to the larger audience. If somebody has something that is viable, they can certainly send it to me and I will certainly consider it. But, otherwise, I'm not going to change my mind on this. It is obvious to me that there is an absolute down. There is an absolute down, up and down are not relative directions unless you're a ball earther and you subscribe to Einstein's relativity. Up and down are absolutes. There's no way around it. And the reason they are absolutes is because there is an ongoing, small, minor, very weak downward acceleration that is present. Now, as far as what causes that, that's wide open for debate. And that's one of the things that, we're way past, trying to, answer the question of whether it's there or not. It is there. What we're trying to figure out is what's causing it, and that's where my interest lies. I'm not going to, get into the bicker contest and swinging your meat around, debating people like, that actually solves anything. When did a debate ever solve anything? It never has. It never will. So
nah, it's just drama. That's all it is. And you got to keep focus on, going forward and using the science that's already there and applying it to the flat Earth models and seeing what we come up with. So it's looking for progress rather than being dragged down like crabs in a bucket.
Yeah, I agree totally, Lucas. I mean, we've got to move forward. And, there's so many other things that I think are really important to cover. I do know that one thing that I'm going to cover on the next Globebusters, when that, it may be tomorrow, it may not be, but, I think that there is a huge misunderstanding about acceleration. And I'm not talking about gravitational acceleration. I'm talking about acceleration in the form of going around in circles, even if it's the same speed, what constitutes it, and why. The bottom line is if in the heliocentric model, if that was true, and we are accelerating around in a circle at 1,037.5 miles per hour, and also on top of that, accelerating around the sun at 66 or 67,000 miles an hour, and then on top of that, accelerating the solar system around the Milky Way at 500,000 miles an hour, and then on top of that, accelerating the Milky Way around the Great Attractor at 1.2 or 1.3 million miles per hour, and on and on and on. These are all not linear, but curvilinear motions, which designate acceleration. And people will say, well, those motions are too small to be able to detect, with your vestibular senses. And while I doubt that highly, even if I were to concede that, I would say, well, it maybe it is too small of a motion for our vestibular senses to detect, but it is not too small of a motion for our instruments, our electronic instruments, accelerometers, interferometers to detect. They will detect that on a gnat's ass, and they don't. Okay. And I think people, the Globers are always coming back, with that argument. It's like, yeah, we're not disagreeing with that. There has to be a curvilinear or an acceleration taking place. And believe me, if you can't find acceleration in 8, 9, 10 different directions going on all at once and be able to measure at least one of those accelerations, then obviously you're not accelerating because you're not moving. And that's kind of something that I do want to go into on the next Globebusters. So what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, it's good. Real good.
Yeah. That's wow.
That's a hell of a lot of speed,
Yeah, that's definitely one of those that you could definitely knock out of the park because their numbers are just so nonsensical.
Yeah, I mean, and they're huge acceleration changes. They
Yeah,
really are.
yeah, they're enormous. We would definitely feel them. We would definitely feel these things.
Yeah, absolutely, we would feel it. So, but like I said, hey, okay, I'll concede our vestibular senses aren't sensitive enough to register that bullshit. But I guarantee you, our accelerometers, our laser interferometry equipment, all the extremely precise test equipment we have, we should be picking up motion all over the freaking place. And the Globers can come up with one example short of, hey, Bob, 15 degrees per hour. Thanks for that. Right?
Yeah.
And they don't even know what they're talking about. You got to love it. So they're desperate. They're on the run. And, they do seem to fall back on this acceleration argument a lot. So, we need to kind of, quietly put that one away as well.
Yeah. And I'd like you to bring up, I mean, there's one thing that needs to be just keep nailed home is we measured a different rotational rate at the same latitude. I would like an explanation from mainstream on how we did this.
Oh, you're never going to get that. And what's funny is, I've had ballers write me and say, oh, guess what? These guys just built the world's biggest accelerometer, right? Like a Michelson-Morley experiment on steroids, right? And it's huge. It's several miles long, right? It's great, big, enormous, huge thing, right? But the problem is if you can't vary that large apparatus on a z-axis, then it's worthless because it's not telling you anything. Because what we're claiming is that it is the vortexual properties of the ether itself that we are measuring there. And how do we absolutely prove that for sure? Well, Zach, we go up and down that vortexual ladder on the same latitude.
Mm-hmm.
And we know what happens when we do that. The rotation rate changes. And so if any ballers can come up with a reason why that happens, I'd love to hear it. But otherwise, the biggest accelerometer in the world isn't going to do you jack.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to pick up emotion, but it isn't what you think it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, thank you, gentlemen, so much. Bob, thank you so much for dropping in. You are like my savior when it comes to getting guests on. Thanks so much, man. And Lucas, thank you for taking the time out. I know you're out with the fam and everything, so I appreciate it, man. Sorry for keeping you.
Nah, it's all good. I enjoy it.
Awesome. Well, all right, everybody. That's the show. I will. If you're going to be here every weekend, you're going to see this twice a week. I'm sorry. I love ending my. At least showing this at the beginning and the end, because people come in. This is Walter Lewin talking to his students for the first time about electricity and what it controls. I'm not going to get all mushy on this one. So here we go. Walter Lewin.
Electricity and magnetism is all around us. We have electric lights, electric clocks, we have microphones, calculators, televisions, VCRs, radio, computers. Light itself is an electromagnetic phenomenon, as radio waves are. The colors of the rainbow in the blue sky are there because of electricity, and I will teach you about that in this course. Cars, planes, trains can only run because of electricity. Horses need electricity because muscle contractions require electricity. Your nerve system is driven by electricity. Atoms, molecules, all chemical reactions exist because of electricity. You could not see without electricity. Your heart would not beat without electricity. And you could not even think without electricity, though I realize that even with electricity, some of you may have a problem with that.
So if you only know the name, you know nothing, folks. As Walter Lewin said. I love y'all. Thanks for joining me. This was our biggest show yet to date. We're just getting bigger, so thank you all for being here and listening to us ramble on. I guess that's it. Thank you, gentlemen. This was awesome. I love you all out there. This is Good Times for All here signing out. As always, thanks for watching.
Little boxes on the hillside, little boxes made of ticky-tack. Little boxes on the hillside, little boxes all the same. There's a green one and a pink one and a blue one and a yellow one. They're all made out of ticky-tacky. They all look just the same. And the people in the houses all went to the university, where they were put in boxes and they came out all the same. And there's doctors and there's lawyers and business executives, and they're all made out of ticky-tacky. They all look just the same. And they all play on the golf course and drink their martinis dry. They all have pretty children. The children go to school, and the children go to summer camp, and then to the university, where they are put in boxes. They come out all the same. And the boys go into business and marry and raise a family in boxes made of ticky-tacky. They all look just the same. There's a green one and a pink one and a blue one and a yellow one. They're all made out of ticky-tacky. They all look just the same.